Direct from rivals and Yahoo Sports, this is the BamaInsider.com podcast with your host, Kyle Henderson. Recruiting nuggets from Andrew Bone, the inside scoop from team writer Tony Sakalis, and information you crave on Alabama football. Welcome to the Bama Insider Podcast. Now, here he is, coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the managing editor of BamaInsider.com, Kyle Henderson.
Welcome into the BamaInsider.com podcast. It's Kyle Henderson. On Friday, April 6th, I'm here with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com. We're going to be talking some Alabama football recruiting. As you know, Alabama just reeled in two more additions to the class of 2019. What's up, Bone? How you been, man?
Hey, doing good, Kyle, man. It's been, kind of a crazy spring so far. Obviously with the new coaches, guys who are actually on the field, but they're also recruiting. So, I think there's a lot of excitement with this new staff, and the guys who are obviously there's some guys who have been there for a while, but several new staff members that I think has got this recruiting class re-energized.
Well, I know it's not on your list, and usually how our podcast works is I send Bone some questions that I'm going to talk to him about during the show, but this wasn't on your list, but I wanted to get your take real quick. I mean, there's some new energy on Alabama's staff. It's very evident. Let's talk about some of these young recruiters and their approach. I mean, I love what Josh Gaddis is not only doing on the field, but I mean, it looks like guys like him, Pete Golding, already making an impact with the class of 2019.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think it's just, Alabama wanted to go and, get some younger guys, some guys who, understood, especially the social media aspect of everything. I mean, you see these guys, posting on Twitter every single day, different things about the program. They're really active, and, I think they're making a big impact. Not only the guys you mentioned, but, Jeff Banks, Coach Craig Kuligowski. I mean, you've got a really strong group of recruiters on the staff right now, and I think it's definitely going to pay off in the end.
Alabama right now with 6 total commits. Yesterday, Alabama added 2 big additions, Paul Tyson and Rashad Chaney. Let's first dive into Paul Tyson, because everybody's really excited about him with the backstory, him being the great-grandson of Paul Bear Bryant. So go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Paul Tyson.
Well, I really like Paul a lot. Yeah, he's one of those kids that early on you knew about his great-grandfather, obviously, with being Bear Bryant. And, was he going to end up being a kid who got an Alabama offer, or, was he just going to be we've seen kids that have had that have been Alabama legacies that Alabama has not offered. And some people may have been upset by that. And Alabama doesn't really offer kids if they're – I think we've seen it in the past. There were some kids in the past where Alabama would offer, okay, his father was a great player here, let's take him. Well, Saban doesn't really do that. Saban's always kind of been like, if you're good enough to play here, we'll offer you. And that's what they really did with Paul Tyson. They wanted to watch him during his junior season at Hewitt-Trussville, which he had an unbelievable junior season. And I remember seeing him probably in January of 2017. He just this kind of a tall, scrawny little kid. He was about maybe 6'2", 6'2.5". Maybe about 190 pounds. Now he's about 215 pounds, and he's closer to 6'4". He's just really filled out, and big, strong kid's got a great arm. We had a chance to see him at the Rivals camp down in Mobile a couple months ago, and really put on a great performance. There was a lot of really good quarterbacks from all around the Southeast that were at the camp, and he walked away as the MVP at the quarterback position. So obviously, he had a great performance down there. We really liked him a lot as a talent. I think he's one of the top 10 players in the state of Alabama. And he's got a chance to even move up in the rankings. And he's a good kid, comes from a really good family. And, I think that with his commitment, it's certainly going to help Alabama's class, because Alabama didn't really have these these guys last year that were recruiters or were active, trying to get other guys to jump on board and kind of be the leaders of the class. They didn't have that throughout the entire year last year. And now, Pierce Quick has obviously been one of those guys who's been very active on the recruiting front for Alabama for a long time, since his commitment a year ago. And now you have a quarterback who's kind of the same way. I think that's certainly going to help. And he's going to spend a lot of time in Tuscaloosa. And it's an easy drive for him. Obviously being in Trussville, it's usually about, it's going to be about an hour, 10, 15 minute drive down to Tuscaloosa. And anytime any big time kids are on campus or they're having any sort of weekend, he can get down there. He can go down and spend time with, a 5-star running back from California or a 5-star wide receiver from South Florida that's visiting. He can go down there and visit with those guys and try to recruit them, and especially having a quarterback who's your natural leader on the team anyway. I think that's going to be huge for Alabama, and I think he's really excited about being an early commitment and really excited about taking on that leadership role and being a big recruiter and trying to help Alabama have a top class once again. I mean, obviously Alabama fans weren't really excited a year ago when they didn't sign the number, I say a year ago, but in 2018 when they didn't sign the number one recruiting class for the first time in several years. And Alabama fans are used to that. They want to get back there, and hey, so does Alabama. And I think that's why they're getting some of these guys on board early that can help recruit.
We're talking with Andrew Bone on the BamaInsider.com podcast. My name is Kyle Henderson. You can catch all our coverage on BamaInsider.com. Bone, now, this doesn't necessarily lock up the quarterback position for Alabama's class of 2019, correct? I mean, Alabama, as you said on your message board, they're going to take 2 quarterbacks, and they're still looking at Tua's younger brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Tulia Tagovailoa, still one of the top quarterback prospects out there in the country. And yeah, I definitely expect Alabama to take 2 quarterbacks this year, and those were kind of the 2 guys that I always expected were going to end up signing with Alabama. It was just kind of who was going to do it first. And, Paul Tyson decided to go ahead and jump on board. And we'll see how long it takes Tagovailoa to commit. I think Alabama would love to have him go ahead and jump on board, have 2 quarterbacks recruiting, other players throughout the country. So, we'll see how much longer it takes him to commit. I do think Alabama's is still in great position for him as well. So we'll see what happens.
Alabama also landed another commitment on April 5th, which was Rashad Chaney, a defensive end, 6'3", 260 pounds, 4-star. Talk about him. I mean, it was a little bit overshadowed because of Paul Tyson committed just like an hour after him. But what are your thoughts on Rashad Chaney?
Well, I like him, man. He's a 6'2.5", 265-pound defensive lineman. He could end up playing defensive end. Could grow into a defensive tackle. Very quick off the ball. He's got great hands. Has good balance. I think that he's one of those kids that he's got a very high ceiling. I like him a lot in terms of his ceiling. He's got a chance to really develop, and Coach Kulikowski loves him. He just absolutely loves him. He became one of Coach Cool's top defensive line targets when he got hired by Alabama, and started heavily recruiting him, and visited last week. And decided to go ahead and shut his recruitment down. Now, he was previously committed to Georgia, decommitted from Georgia a couple months ago, and now he's committed to Alabama. Of course, being in the state of Georgia, it's always a tough, it's a tough deal going up against Georgia for these top kids. And I think Alabama told him, they said, we don't want you to continue to take visits. We want you to be sure about your decision before you commit. So if you're going to continue to take visits and, still say you're open to other schools, there's no purpose of you making a commitment. And I think he understood that and said, no, I'm going to Alabama. So they went ahead and took his commitment yesterday.
Alabama had some big visitors in Tuscaloosa this week. Talk about some names of some guys that were in town.
Well, there were several guys who were in town. There was big offensive lineman out of Michigan, Devontae Dobbs, on top offensive lineman in the entire country. Alabama really likes him a lot. Alabama's got an opportunity with several offensive linemen in this year's class, and he's one of the guys that that's on the board that they like a lot. And we'll see how that goes. Another big guy that was in town was Tua Telly, the Rivals 100 defensive tackle out of St. Louis High School in Honolulu, Florida. Visited with his whole family. Spent Tuesday, Wednesday, and half the day on Thursday in Tuscaloosa before flying out and going to Ohio State for a couple days. But obviously, we know who came from the same high school, Tua Tagovailoa, and Tua spent a lot of time with him. Tua's family spent a lot of time with his family. So, they're heavily recruiting him, wanting him to join Alabama. I think there's a very good chance that he could end up in Tuscaloosa. He got the offer during the visit, and really likes Alabama a lot. I think he's very high on Alabama's recruiting board. So, would not be surprised to see him jump on board. Over the next few days, it's going to be a bit, kind of a who's who of top players. Clay Webb, number one player in Alabama, 5-star offensive lineman, is in Tuscaloosa. Kayvon Thibodeau, 5-star defensive end out of California, is visiting today and tomorrow. That's a huge visit. Nakobe Dean, one of the top linebackers in the country out of Mississippi, coming back into town to spend some time. There's a few other guys. Keelan Robinson, a 4-star running back out of Washington, D.C., is going to be in town. So keep an eye on that one as well. But a lot of names are going to be in Tuscaloosa at the scrimmage tomorrow.
As you mentioned, Alabama will hold their first scrimmage. BamaInsiders.com. Myself and Tony Sukalis will be in Tuscaloosa at Bryant-Denny Stadium, so we'll be sure and catch up with Nick Saban, hear what he has to say. You can catch all that coverage back on BamaInsider.com. Right now we're on the line with Andrew Bone, our recruiting analyst. Bone, when Alabama brings these guys in for a scrimmage, are they what exactly are they trying to show them? It's a close scrimmage from a media perspective, but the recruits and some other insiders, so to speak, get to watch these guys. So what are they exactly trying to show these recruits when they come to Tuscaloosa for a weekend scrimmage?
Yeah, I think they're just trying to show them, especially before the scrimmage kind of starts, just going through warm-ups and just seeing what it's like to be on the field with Alabama. Just seeing the players up close, seeing the kind of speed that they're running, seeing the offense, seeing the defense, watching the play call. So, they're watching kind of everything. And they're telling these guys, their top targets, watch very closely how these guys are working. And, they obviously want to get some of these guys to spend some time with some of the players and get them to learn a little bit more about Alabama and get some advice from them. And what we've seen with this Bama Cuts show that's been coming out, there's a lot of former players that are currently in the NFL that are on campus this spring that are working out with the team, and they're on campus. So it's kind of an eye-opening experience for a lot of these kids to just have an opportunity to meet guys like Julio Jones or Eddie Jackson or O.J. Howard, whoever may be. They have that opportunity, so they're getting a chance to even spend some time and talk to some former NFL players, about Alabama and stuff like that. So I'm sure that's a really cool experience for them.
What have you thought so far of, of Bama Cuts? I think it's a wonderful PR move by Alabama, and obviously it's aimed at getting to these recruits. Bama Cuts, I haven't seen any other program do anything like this. I'm really enjoying this series.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I think that they've definitely taking it up a notch, especially with this, and you just know that every assistant coach is sending this to, they're sending these videos every week to their top targets for them to watch it and see them, you kind of see Nick Saban in a different light, and they see Nick Saban from on TV, or they may see him when they come to campus and get a chance to spend maybe a couple minutes with him, but get a chance to watch him on a weekly little TV show. I mean, I think it's really cool, and to see guys like Julio or Eddie Jackson, Ryan Anderson, Calvin Ridley, talk about Alabama and talk about the work that they put in, and also talk about what it's like in the pros. I think it's really cool for anyone to hear. I mean, not just recruits, but fans. I've enjoyed watching them and learning about it, and it's kind of a cool deal. And I'm sure that now that they're doing it, and it's very public, and other schools are definitely trying to figure out what they can do to kind of catch the attention of recruits, because that's what it's all about, just catching their attention, especially kids that may not even have plans to visit Alabama. They may see that and they're like, wow, that's really cool. I want to go take a trip to Alabama and just see what it's all about.
All right, Bone, as we close out the show, we wanted to talk to you about, I mean, who's next? I mean, Alabama has landed, they're off to a great start with 2019. I mean, who are some additional guys that are on maybe not so much a commitment watch, but possibly some guys that could pull the trigger in the next couple of weeks?
Well, the top one off my head is probably Christian Harris. Christian Harris, linebacker out of New Orleans, is going to be making his third trip this spring to Tuscaloosa this weekend. He's coming up with both his mom and his dad. And I asked him, I said, is there a chance that you could go ahead and commit? And he said, I don't know. So that wasn't a no, and it wasn't a yes, but it's definitely something that we'll keep an eye on. I think Alabama's in pretty good shape with him right now, so that's definitely a name to kind of watch. I think that there's definitely some other guys that are out there that we could see pull the trigger. Christian Williams, the defensive back out of Daphne High School, I think probably pretty close to announcing. That big defensive lineman out of Honolulu, I'm trying to say it right, Tuateli.
There you go.
Yeah, all right. He is taking that unofficial visit to Ohio State, but it would really shock me if he went home and thought about it and said, you know what, I'm ready to go ahead and make a decision. I visited the schools that I want to see. This is what I want to do. You never know if something like that may happen, but obviously, like I said, Alabama's got a lot of visitors on campus. I would kind of watch out for, and this is kind of just tossing it out there, but I would kind of watch out for Clay Webb, to be honest. He recently said that Alabama was his leader. He's really close with Paul Tyson and Pierce Quick. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa this weekend. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa again next weekend. So that's a name to kind of watch. He doesn't plan on announcing. That really hasn't been the plan. He's always kind of planned on going about this and taking kids official visits and making a decision down the road. But with some close friends now committed and guys that are going to be recruiting him and spending time with him in Tuscaloosa this weekend, especially Alabama, trying to get some leaders and committed and some big names committed. That would be a huge name to go ahead and get on the recruiting board, especially with him saying that Alabama is at the top of the list. So we'll see what happens there, but would not be surprised one way or the other if he took it all the way down to signing day, or if he decided, you know what, I'm ready, I know where I want to go, this is it, and goes ahead and commits.
Clay Webb, a priority target, 6'4", 285 pounds, 5-star out of Oxford, Alabama. I mean, if you watch this kid's film, he's tremendous. I mean, he does everything right. Is a true 5-star. That would be a tremendous pickup following Paul Tyson. if they were able to land Clay Webb. I really like that, so let's continue to keep watch on that. Bone, good stuff as usual, man. I mean, if you're interested in recruiting coverage, then head on over to BamaInsider.com and jump on Bone's board. I mean, it's packed with just recruiting information. That's you want it, you can get it all the time. Andrew Bone's always delivering. Bone, we appreciate it, man. I mean, it's good to chop it up, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, man.
Yeah, man, it's been good. Well, obviously we've got a lot of stuff going on Bama Insider. We'll try to get in touch with as many of these kids as we can about their visits, and obviously we'll have some inside scoop posted on the board about the trips. But big Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Like I said, a lot of these kids are getting on campus on Friday. Some will be able to spend some time at the facility. Some are just going to be getting into town late. But a lot of big names are going to be on the sidelines tomorrow in Tuscaloosa watching scrimmage, and we'll try to get up with as many as we can and find out what they thought about everything, and who stood out to them especially.
Team Nuggets, recruiting nuggets. We got you covered at BamaInsider.com. From beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, this is the BamaInsider.com podcast.